So the Canadians dropped this game against the Americans 3-0 the final. It's the most goals allowed by Canada since that game against Australia, the final group stage game of the 2023 World Cup back on July 31st of 2023. As we welcome you inside our One Soccer studio, Andy Petrillo, Jordan Wilson, and Jess Lisi with you. This was the game we were all looking forward to. This was the game that even Casey Stoney admitted she finally was going to have a challenge here for her team. The score, you can't say score aside, how did they do, because the score matters here, Jess, and you were calling this one. How did you make of Canada's performance?
I think it was a poor performance from them. I would say overall the Americans dominated them. Their 1v1 defending wasn't great. Their 1v1 attacking, they weren't lighting anything up. I think that they didn't create enough dangerous opportunities. They didn't utilize the width. And you saw that in-box defending, it was poor. But they also didn't take care of the ball. They didn't manipulate their opponent. They didn't live in the Americans' half at all. And ultimately, the Americans were just the better side, and they definitely deserved to win that.
I think the Americans were methodical. I think they played the way they wanted to, and they dictated the tempo. But yeah, I don't want to go into too much depth about the players that are missing for Canada. But I think when you just watch a game of football, like, you have to be honest. And the Americans are just a stronger side right now. That is not to say that Canada can't get to the level. That's not to say if they were going to play again that Canada can't tweak a few things and compete. When you just look at it, player for player, pound for pound, I have to say the Americans are just stronger today.
A word that you use there, obviously, is tempo, and that's something that we kind of were alluding to in that halftime that we were breaking down the first half when Canada was down 2-0. Speed.
Yeah.
There just felt like moments where, yes, you can talk about IQ and where to be and how to play, but at the end of the day, I also felt like some 1v1s, Canada was really using the foot race.
Yeah, you noticed that, and it honestly is such an astute observation, because I think I said pound for pound, but you could say speed for speed on the pitch. The Americans just look stronger. Like, I'll bring up one instance, and this is not to pick on her, but you see like an Ashley Lawrence who just has pace. She always gets around a play and whips it across. And then tonight she's going up against Cooper that just looks strong, just looks ready to read her play and shield her out of bounds and put herself in the right position. So again, this is not Canada's strongest squad, but we did say this is going to be a test to see where they're at. And when you compare Canada to the best team in the world, you can see a clear difference.
And I think, this says a lot as well, because this is an experimental team for the U.S. This isn't their best players. I think we spoke about how deep their player pool was and the quality that they had. But I just think that the fact that Canada wasn't able to step out there and really test the Americans says a lot. And I think there's a lot of work that has to be done. And, Stoney's a great coach. I know she's going to go out there and really go back to the drawing board and fix things. But it's just a matter of having to be better on the day. It wasn't a great performance from them.
Well, and then on that, because in the pregame show we mentioned Casey Stoney, do you think she should have made more substitutions? Do you think she should have tried to put maybe a little bit more pace in there, whether it was a Holly Ward, Adriana Leon, or do you wish that at some point, and I'm never going to sit here and say, it's 2-0, so who cares? But it's 2-0. Do you try to put younger players in to experiment? Like, what did you just make of some of the decisions she made?
I could see how you're thinking, okay, it's not working. I want to tweak things. Let's start a half with a couple of subs, right? You obviously can't change 1 to 5, so you're saying 1 or 2. But then you could kill a player at that point. Like, you're thinking the biggest game that this is her tenure for Stoney, 6 months. She's been playing up this game. She's even said to us the past 3 days in camp, it's been a different vibe. Imagine taking a player out at halftime right then, just being like, it's not really working. I mean, this is professional sports. This is you stepping up for your country, so I could understand if she did that. But I also get why maybe you wait to the 60th or maybe to the 55th, because this is not the end-all and be-all. Of course you want to see these players play and compete, but maybe she's thinking long-term, and that's why she didn't make a sub sooner?
Yeah, it could be argued that she should have made a forward sub sooner. I don't think they had enough flair or creativity or really energy up top. I'm not sure if the heat played a factor and their legs were tired or what it was, but there just wasn't enough movement up top, off the ball. They weren't finding the ball, and when they did get it, they weren't creating anything dangerous. So it could be argued that that sub should have came a little sooner, maybe right at halftime. If it's a Nichelle Prince, maybe it's a Leon, or maybe it's a Holly Ward, whoever she felt could make the biggest difference. But to Jordan's point, it does make sense long term to not make that sub right away, but it could be argued both ways.
But then the other person on my shoulder says at halftime, you look at Canada when they went forward, and it did seem like Heidemann was by herself up top. So if you want to get back into this game, because Canada's done this before. Last 2 times they played the Americans, they've come back from a deficit. So you're seeing, okay, maybe they got to be on the front foot. So maybe that was the time to change someone. But this is why I sit here and I'm not a manager, because it is a tough life to just weigh in what you want to do and what times you want to do it at.
Yeah,
difficult.
Well, it is very difficult. And it was also difficult going down in the 17th minute. That is our Volkswagen moment of the match. This one coming from Coffee. And it was off a set piece here. And, you know, you can break this one down, Jess, just what you saw and how Coffee was able to get her foot on the ball.
I mean, this is a great delivery in by Rose Lavell, and Coffee does so well to time herself and stay just off of Canada's defense and strike through that. But this is poor defending from Canada. There's no reason that she should be wide open and have the time to be able to get that into the back of the net. I think their box defending was very poor tonight, and I wouldn't say that's something that they typically struggle with. I think defensively Canada is quite good usually, so it is a little shocking to see 2 goals come off of that.
I've been on the wrong end of a few of those where, like, you try to head it, you try to time it, and it just falls right to opponent, they score, and you know it's on you. But I think for Sonis, it's one of 2 things. You either have to head it back into the direction it is for a throw-in, even a corner, or if you do flick it on like how she did, it has to go past everyone. So, like, the flick on just came too short, and you can see her closing her eyes, and she's off balance. But it is those minor details that win you a game. If she does flick it, it has to go past every single player and away for a corner. And those are the details and the margins of a game. If you don't get them right, a team like the Americans, they're going to punish you.
And they did just that. Let's take you to another dead ball situation, because this will be our Walmart delivery of the match. It's the 2-0 goal. Comes off the corner, comes off the foot of Rose Lavell. And that's all she wrote, really, at this point. Hutton getting the goal, her first for the national team. Just kind of rising. You could see Rose just trying to get in there, but Hutton just beating everyone to it.
She was unmarked. That's what I just don't like about that goal. Like, for me, Jess, I would love to hear your take on it, but Hutton was free the whole time. And you see Jade Rose challenging a bit late, but she's the free one. She's the spare player. She has the zone to go out and challenge. But I just wonder, a player like Hutton, that, yeah, she hasn't scored for the Americans, but she's free on the 6-yard box. Like, you can't give a player so much time in that space.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Rose is definitely a player that was supposed to be in that zone and dealing with it. But at the same time, that recognition of realizing no one is going to step on her, her timing has to be quicker. She has to be able to challenge that in the air, so Sutton isn't able to redirect that so easily unmarked. But yeah, absolutely, I think she shouldn't have started unmarked to begin with.
Yeah, I just don't know why someone wasn't on her. Like, I normally, I think if there are 7 players in the box and there's 7 players that are marked, and then you have someone extra to clean up. But she was just free the whole time and was able to get her head on it first.
Well, that's what stands out immediately, right? And if you're Casey Stoney and you're looking at this tape and you're watching it back, right away you're looking at how do your players line up in these types of situations, because it really did feel like the Americans, you know, the Coffee and Hutton, who scored the goal, had a lot of space around them. Like, how does that happen?
I don't know.
Right?
All I know, too, I think it's by design, obviously, the way that set pieces were delivered by the Americans. Because there's always tell signs for me, Andy and Jess. When you saw Emma Hayes, like, looking to her bench, she was elated that they scored. It's not just because they scored, but it's how they did it. Like, set pieces are such a huge part of the game today. And if you can get corners or dead balls and you're able to attack and teams fear you, that is such an X factor, because the other parts of the game, it's just like, okay, well, we're going to capitalize on these set pieces. There's no problem. It's an easy day at the office.
Set pieces have the ability to change the entire game, as we've seen, and I think Canada, that used to be one of their strong suits, I would say, their attacking ability to capitalize on set pieces, but I think recently they've been struggling in the attack, and now after today, defensively they need to work on a lot as well in how they defend.
Need somebody like Rose Lavell, who's our Gatorade performance of the match, and obviously took those kicks that led to the goals, the assists. So she took the free kick and then she took the corner kick. And this is, you know, when we say a lot of players are making their debuts or just have about 10 caps for the Americans, we're not talking Rose Lavell. This is the veteran who's been around for quite some time, just rejoined the camp last month, missed a couple ones at the beginning of the season. And if you're Emma Hayes, Jess, you are happy she's back.
Yeah, I mean, she's a stud. Rose Lavell is a stud. That's the easiest way to describe her. She makes things happen, whether she's on the ball or she's off the ball. You saw her set-piece delivery. But one thing that caused the Canadians so many problems today was her ability to float and find those spaces and really sit on the back line of Canada, which forced Carl to have to be aware of not being able to go out wide with Thompson, but instead having to stay closer and more compact. And just there was a lot of great movement from Lavell. So absolutely, I would be ecstatic if I was her manager. I think that she is a player that took no time to come back from an injury, and usually that's not the case when you've had such a serious injury. It takes time for people to find their footing, but that is not the case for Rose Lavell.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know,
we were talking about it. I was just saying,
sang her praises.
No, yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm Canadian
Absolutely.
deep down. I was like, we're still gonna, but she was the best player on the pitch. Like, she sees things before they happen. And then in the modern day today, when you have quality service and you're picking out passes, then you're just a coach's dream. So you can see today, even when she was subbed off, like all of her actions were with intent behind it, and that's just class.
Yeah. Let's bring you now to the All-State save of the match. This was in the first half. Jesse Fleming with some nice ball movement here. Jordan Huitema will ultimately get it and takes a shot on Dickey, and she makes a big save here, Jess. Or Jordan, you want to take this?
I just want her to shoot, maybe. Yeah. I know it's like running away from her, and she tries to chip here. Definitely Fleming should just lace this. This is one that should just hit like Dickey, maybe in the face, maybe on like whatever, try to get a rebound, but you just want to see the intent.
I'm not sure why she tried to deceive her and go right. It would have been a perfect time. She's out of her net. Whether you hit it on frame or not, but you're creating something, potentially an opportunity for a rebound. Exactly. Dickey wasn't going to be. I'm shooting. Yeah. I'm shooting.
You're shooting
every
too.
single time.
You're
we
aiming.
know Andy's
She's
shooting.
aiming for the head.
She is lacing.
She's like, I'm not passing that in. She's swinging your foot straight through it. Whoever hits it, hits. That's what we need.
Listen, I was told that you might as well take people down if you're going to go down. So
my dad always says it's still your goal. If it hits someone's eyebrow, off their shoulder, it's like it's your goal. You're shooting on goal. It's true.
All kidding aside, though, I mean, what you want to see from a number 9 in a situation like that, and I know I'm going to nitpick a little bit here, but if you're Huitema, do you want to see her bring that ball down a little bit more? You see Dickey going kind of already to the ground a little bit, maneuver around her to try and tuck behind instead of putting it right on target?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that she has to recognize the timing of the goalkeeper and when they're falling. If, you know, Dickey's falling at that exact moment, you're able to take the touch and go around, and now you're looking at a wide open net. You see her try to strike that out of the air, but it's very difficult to beat a keeper when they're coming out big at you, and the net is getting smaller and smaller as you approach the net. So definitely, Andy, that's the striker in you that's talking there. Bring it down.
No.
The maestro.
My mind thinks that way. My feet don't always.
Don't
That's
go.
okay. That's okay.
We don't know.
The head says, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it.
And then crash, boom, bang. Full-time stats here. I mean, look at the Americans with 22 shots. They kept the Canadians' heads on a swivel this entire match. 8 of them on target. Kaylin Sheridan was definitely busy in this one. And you're right, when you use the word dominate, that's how you really feel things went for the Americans. And then even those fouls, when you look at it, just the split second of being behind, the foot races and just not being as speedy. You could see where those fouls end up coming from, from the Canadians. But, when you look ahead, and now if you're Casey Stoney, and I am going to ask you to put your manager's hat on, because you're probably not going to see these teams again until the fall. What's the main thing you're working on?
I think, to your point, when we watched the game together, just you're saying speedy as well, and I agree with that. And I think also being a bit proactive. I understand this is a new system. I understand a lot of times, specifically the first half, it's going to maybe bring you out of your character because you got to go and press and you might feel a bit insecure. But being proactive in those movements. I look at all the goals that were scored by the Americans. If the Canadians are proactive, it's nullified. If you win a header, if you get a block shot, if you slide across, I understand this is not a World Cup final, so you can deal with the 3-0 loss and you can lick your wounds and go back. But I just think if this team plays on the front foot and starts being proactive, I think they'll win far more games than they lose.
And it's a matter of, taking care of the ball when you have it and making the most of those opportunities. I don't think they did that, and we know that they have the quality to do that on the pitch. But today was just not a great performance from them overall, but it's a matter of them growing from it and being able to move into that next match recognizing, hey, we have to work on our box defending, we have to be more proactive off the ball, and we have to be able to capitalize on opportunities that we're creating and get numbers forward, because that was one thing they didn't do. They didn't get numbers forward. They didn't control the ball at all today, and it was the simple things that let them down in the end.
Yeah, so some things to work on here for the Canadians as they look ahead and suffer this 3-0 loss to the Americans in their 67th all-time meeting. The Americans picking up their 54th win. We are not done with soccer here on One Soccer. Gold Cup coverage continues. You have Mexico, Honduras coming up next on the channel, so stick around for that. Meantime, we say goodnight from Washington, D.C. with the USA pulling off the 3-0 victory over Canada.